Hello and welcome to Click-a-Brick. Today I will be presenting with you the first of hopefully many videos on my channel. Today we're going to be looking at a new LEGO custom minifigure series, also known as CMF, that I've drawn up based upon the new X-Men 97 Marvel show. For those of you who don't know, minifigure series are those character blind bags you'll see in your shops based on popular shows, movies or franchises. CMFs are fan designs of what they'd like to see made in the real world, and they were popularised on YouTube a few years ago, and since then I've seen many great videos from creators such as Ash and Flash and Just Too Good, both of which I will link in the comments down below, and I urge you to check out if you enjoy this style of content. However, I've noticed a lack of videos covering certain shows or movies that aren't necessarily in the public eye and are, in my opinion, hidden gems within larger franchises such as Marvel, DC or Star Wars. And I aim to fill that void in the YouTube community, starting with what I think is one of the more popular shows as a way of helping you get started with my content rather than throwing you straight in the deep end with too many unfamiliar characters and shows you haven't watched. X-Men 97 is, I think, not just a well-made continuation of an existing show, but also a massive love letter to the original show, as well as some classic comic book storylines. As for what to expect, I'll present a colour key on the left of your screen for those of you who may want to try and replicate my designs in real life, or for those of you who enjoy the little extra detail, and I'll also show a reference image of the original character on the right, so those of you who may not know all of the characters or may not have watched all of the shows can get an idea for what look and style I'm aiming to replicate. Then in the centre of the screen we'll have my original minifigure design for the character. If I've made any mistakes within my videos, for example prints that you think are a bit off or mistaken colours, or I've chosen a design that doesn't really fit the feel of the character, please feel free to correct me in the comments down below and I'll make an effort to reply to you and interact with you. So without further ado, let's jump right in with the first design of the video, Scott Summers aka Cyclops. There's nothing too complicated about his design. I used a little black detailing on the torso to try and replicate the cel-shaded look of the show as best as I could. There's nothing too detailed about him, but I'm happy with the overall look of the character and I think it remains faithful to his look from the animated series. I also made a second face print for Cyclops, replicating his look with his visor off, as seen in episode 1. Next up on the list we have Morph, one of the only characters to have a major redesign from his original debut in this universe. However, I am really happy with how I was able to replicate his look with the face print I used. Other than that, his design isn't overly complex and I'm using the same cel-shaded style that I used for Cyclops. For fans of the original series, I made a second headpiece with hair that's reminiscent of his look from his first appearance. Due to the hair, I was able to add a second face print, which is a little Easter egg to when he was captured by Mr. Sinister in the original show, which is a reference also made in the new series. Following, we have Rogue, a fan favourite character who has had a lot of story focus in the new series. One thing about her worth mentioning is the dual moulded hairpiece I used to try and replicate that mixed white and brown look. Then we have Remy LeBeau, aka Gambit. I gave him his bow staff as well as a new mould for a hairpiece because I felt that no existing LEGO hair I could find replicated the look I was trying to achieve. But if any of you know of a hairpiece you think's perfect for the character, please let me know because I'd love to use that if I was to replicate Gambit again in the future. Next up, Jean Grey. She's had many looks throughout the show, but I went for the ponytail design as well as her classic costume. Other than that, her design's nothing too complex. There's no alternate face prints. I just wanted to keep it quite simple with this character. Now, Henry McCoy aka Beast. I have to say I did really enjoy this one. You see, LEGO's produced a really good design for him and I kept certain features such as that new hairpiece, but I did feel like the minifigure torso didn't replicate the look that I wanted because he's quite a large, bulky character and I wanted to replicate that. So, despite the fact it's not being mass-produced as a print for actual physical sets, the Mr. Incredible torso from the LEGO Incredibles game was still a design produced by LEGO, and I felt like it fits within the LEGO theme and it does a great job at replicating the build for the character, so I used that despite the fact it's not already existing in the real world. I added a second face print with glasses to replicate his look when not in battle. Then we have Jubilee. I'm overall happy with this design. I debated creating a dual moulded hairpiece with her visor on top, however I did decide to instead use a pre-existing LEGO hairpiece. I'm really happy with how bright she looks, and I was able to use some of the new LEGO colours to create her design, such as the coral for her t-shirt. I did choose to create a second print on the back of her head with her visor down, so someone could choose if they wanted to display Jubilee with her visor or without. Then we have Sunspot, a new character to the X-Men animated universe. Replicating his outfit was a little difficult, but I am happy with what I managed, and again, overall it's a pretty simple design compared to most of this video, and again, I didn't see the need to add a second face print for this character, so he's just left as is. Next up is Bishop. Bishop didn't get all too much screen time this season, but what he did get was great, and his new design translated very well to LEGO form in my opinion, and I'm happy with the design I produced. Now, Magneto was a little difficult. I did have a really hard time deciding between his classic outfit and the new one in the show, but I chose to go with the new look, partly because of how recognisable it is for this new show and how it separates it from the original, but I am also really likely to replicate his classic look at some point, especially since it's really similar to the design from the comics. So if I was to do a comic X-Men video in the future, you'll see that design anyway, so I thought I might as well do something quite original. Then we have Storm. She's a character LEGO has in fact made, and this version's pretty much the same as LEGO's. I didn't think much needed changing. All I did was add a few printing differences, such as her lightning bolt earrings. I also made another variant of Storm with the eyes indicating the use of her power, but because of her hairpiece, if LEGO were to make this figure, they could only use one head print at a time. I just thought I'd draw it up anyway to give you the opportunity to see what it could look like, and you can let me know which you prefer. The last minifigure of this series is, I'm sure, the one you've been anticipating, Wolverine. Like with Storm, LEGO's made an incredible design for Wolverine, so all my version really does is add some printing, such as the face print, which is different from LEGO's. The head is dual moulded, so when you swap out the hairpiece and add a shoulder accessory, you can replicate Logan's unmasked look, which I thought was a cool addition to the design. That's all the minifigure designs I have for you today, so I wanted to say a massive thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you've enjoyed it, or you have any suggestions for what shows or films I should adapt into minifigure form, please let me know down in the comments below. I'll make an effort to reply to as many comments as I can and interact with you guys to make sure I produce content you're after. I'll be making videos like this again, so turn your channel notifications on if you want to stay tuned to see my next video, which is going to be on Season 1 of Spider-Man the Animated Series.